that exclusive privilege to do that, that exclusive right as the owner of all things. So this is one we should honor above all else, like it's written. He said, you do this and all the other commandments will fall into place. Okay, so all those other 10 fall right in place. He said the law and the prophets are summed up in that. Love God above all else, love one another as yourselves. And that's it. You can live a successful life. You give one of these little ones that loves me even a drink of cold water, and no way are you going to lose your reward. Okay, any of us, we're going to get a reward. Anyone that successfully wins friends for God, or even attempting, trying, because it's tough, man. I mean, it's a hard life being a human. We've got a lot of fears, a lot of insecurities. It's very hard for people just to cope. I know. I'm a people. You know how you can know what's in the heart of people, what they're thinking, is just by being a people. Okay, so we all know we're interconnected. We're picking stuff up osmotically around the world. That's what happens. That's the way God made it. This is part of the fail-safe. This is part of the default system He built into us. We can't divorce ourselves from others. We can never separate ourselves from others. So all this idea of loving our enemies and wooing them over to the other side is correct. The attitude should be, look, I know you're wrong positively because it's spelled out here. This is 2 plus 2, a situation 2 plus 2, but I'm not going to condemn you, but I'm going to be relentless in trying to convince you to jump ship. Come out of the darkness and into the light. Come out of Babylon and into the clear blue, okay? Come out of the muddy waters, muddy, bloodied waters. Come into the nice, clear pond, okay? The nice, clear pool, the nice, clear lake, okay? So that's all. That's all we have to do. That's His yoke being easy, His load is light. But you've got to understand certain things that are in dispute out there in the world system we live in. And those things are often economic things. At the end of the day, it's all economic. This is the politics. This is the social issues that we have. It's all stemming from this money, this invention of man. Remember, God didn't invent money. This is a concoction. This is a conjuring up. This is an invention by evil people, not to facilitate exchange, but to use us. Think about it. All those people so many jobs are useless. Useless. They're non-productive jobs. And these are the people with all the power. They're controlling us. So they're controlling. This is just one big cotton field. Okay, we're all workers on the plantation. Okay, that's it. There's no ownership. People talk about ownership in America. I say, dude, you're living in the past, man. I don't know when there was a time in America when you didn't have to pay taxes to the precious government, whoever in the hell the government is. So you don't own any property, and they call real estate real property. You're paying taxes. And all these property managers, these investors, they're just having their tenants pay for those taxes. They pass it on. So who at the end of the day pays it? It's the guy at the bottom. All the burden of this pyramid of fraud and puppetry falls on the back of the common worker who is marginalized and belittled, and not he's the unsung hero at the bottom whose job is imperative to the welfare of society. The truck driver, person working in the grocery store, in the factory. All these people who say, yeah, but it's unskilled, they deserve minimum. They don't deserve, to get ahead. I mean, they should just be temporarily doing it. So let's make a law then. You're only allowed to do it up to a certain age. So you want to age, just pick on people because they're young. And so it's okay to discriminate you because you're a high school kid or college kid. It's okay that we don't pay you, because if you did the math on what the equivalent buying power minimum wage would be over the last 50 years, it'd be like 40 something bucks. This could be mathematically proved. So don't anybody argue with me. I know my stuff when it comes to this. So you get what I'm saying here, that we have fallen far, okay? And people got to know their stuff. They got to know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And if you're opposed to people and being empowered with that truth, then you're opposed to God. You're God's enemy. You're humanity's enemy. Unless you're for setting the captives free, not some of the captives, all the captives free, then you're God's enemy. Okay? That's it. So that's what I'm talking about. Universal, full prosperity. Okay? That's how the captives will be set free, when the money masters of misery have no hold on them anymore. It'd be far more fair to go back to bartering. Okay? Anytime. Just think of all those people that be left out of the loop, scrambling for something to offer. Just think how that'd drive down your cost of living. Okay, so this whole idea that it's somehow better that you got to pay your taxes to a private entity than a governmental entity, it's just nonsense. It's made up. It's the same group of people sitting in a room deciding how to manipulate the masses, okay, into the automaton slaves that they want. Okay, they don't want them talking back. They don't want them stinging their ears. They just want them to be good little minions living in fear and submission, subverted by them, the money masters of misery. Gosh, I mean, we need God's help. We really do. But fundamentally, we got to understand it's God that gives you the understanding. It's not me that's giving you understanding. God's working through me. I'm letting him. I say, look, give me the words to speak. Because on my own, I'm just as pathetic as they get. I'm just as human as they get. I'm a nobody. I'm a nothing. I'm weak. I'm a pathetic human. And, end of story. Okay, God. So, I mean, if you're going to affect some positivity out of what I say in this series of videos I'm putting out, then, come through me. Come through me. Give me what to say. But I want the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I want peace on earth. I want everybody to live in safety and security and prosperity and freedom and liberty. Okay? Everybody. I want us to go to work and serve one another because of an instinct that you put in our hearts, with a song on our lips, with joy in our heart and a bounce in our steps. I just want to have fun. I want to frolic on your green earth the way you intended me to. I want to be happy. I want to be free. It comes down to that. And we can all do that and turn to him, and he's going to empower you. He's going to say, okay, you ready? Bear that cross. Go out, confront the people, speak truth to power, and say, no, you're going down. Not all the combined forces of darkness can stand against the spirit of truth. It keeps pushing its way down on the earth. God's will be imposed upon earth sooner or later, one way or another. God's will be instilled upon the earth. End of story. That's how you got to tell people. You got to know, we're the boss. I know who I'm working for. I'm working for the Father of truth. And if you're on the other side, unwittingly, you're working for the father of lies, okay? Because they could be witting. You might be talking to somebody that knows what they're doing. They're deliberately trying to deceive you. It doesn't matter. You don't know that. You don't have that kind of wisdom. That's only God. That's up to him on Judgment Day, the day of reckoning, okay? So I'm going to leave it at that and get into some of the current events from this past week. So the takeaway from that, I hope, is something like, in order to heal the divisions in the land, and if you're genuine and sincere, if you really believe what you believe, if you're real, genuine, and you perceive someone else to be wrong about something, particular thing about they prescribe to socialism, for example, and you know they're totally wrong, at least respect them for their beliefs. To deride and belittle somebody simply because they believe what they believe is ineffective. And if you're sincere about wanting to be effective and affect change, positive change in society, then at minimum, at least, offer them politeness and respect when you're trying to bring them over to your way of thinking. If you really want to be effective, okay? Otherwise, it's not going to work. And some people will say that humiliation is, that's why they do it, because they believe in humiliation being the most effective way. Well, I don't know. How does that fit into the whole catch more flies with honey than vinegar theme? It doesn't. Okay, so I would argue otherwise. I mean, let's look at specific people. For me, let's take a guy like Roger Stone, who is now a reporter regularly with Alex Jones. At first, I really didn't know what to think of the man. I had really very mixed feelings. But after getting to know him over time, I have become very fond of Roger Stone. I like the man in a very, very personal, genuine, sincere way. Okay, I think he is a very decent, upright, honest, integrity-filled human being. I think he's a good believer. He's a good servant of God. And when you're a good servant of God, you're a good servant of humanity. Although I strongly disagree, I don't know if I'd go so far as vehement. I can't see myself getting vehement with a guy like Roger ever. But I would say I strongly disagree because he's such a gentleman. He's so polite and so respectful. And I really admire that. I really wants to affect change, I believe. And he's growing all the time. But, I strongly disagree about the Nixon thing being so great. But, maybe he knows more than I do. But I imagine that he is looking at Nixon as the motive of his heart being genuine. Okay. And that's something that eluded a lot of people because they just saw him as liar, tricky dick, crooked, you know, tricky dick. Uh, you know, what was the famous? I am not a criminal. Right? As his nose grew like Pinocchio. But all joking aside, but I don't see what was so great about going off the gold standard. I think that was a betrayal. Maybe he was ignorant. Maybe in retrospect, Nixon shouldn't have done it, and Stone agrees he shouldn't have. I don't even think opening trade with China was so great, especially with all the human rights violations over there. We said, no, clean up your act, then we'll buy your crap, okay? Because the nation is crap. I mean, the people are wonderful. I love the Asian people. I mean, people are people. Humans are. I believe in equality. I'm not a racist at all. I believe that we are one race, one family. That's it. End of story. I don't care what color you are, what race you are, what nationality you are. You're due equal respect, and that's how we should all look at it. But I don't see that country is just. It's to this day it's barbaric, harvesting people's organs, or executing 5,000 people a year. It's totalitarian. It's authoritarian. Communism has failed. People don't want it. And God, it never fly in America. Never in a million years. So it doesn't work. You can hire attorneys to find you loopholes so the people that can really afford to pay all the bills in the country never will do it. So it always falls on the backs of others, in particular the weakest. It's the weakest links that break in a situation like this, the social Darwinian economics, where it's always about increasing the wealth disparity, staying on this trajectory, just kicking the can of national debt, the debasement of the currency, always falls on the poor. It's killing them. It's breaking their links first. They are the weak links, and they're dying. They die out in the cold. It's killing people. People commit suicide. It's breaking up families. It's turning people into criminals. It's sending men off to dubious wars where we got 22 of them a day taking their own lives. You understand the implications are very severe, very real, very acute. We've all got to get real about this. The implications, the ramifications, the consequences that these people are just shoving down our throats from their madness, their insanity. These are maniacal freaks. They're genocidal murderers. There's not adjectives strong enough to describe these people. They're monsters. They might look human on the outside, but inside their hearts, if you could see inside, it's just fire and brimstone. I mean, these people are on their way to Dante's Inferno. They've sold their conscience. This is all they want. They want their 15 minutes on this stage. They want to be the powerful and the elite, the rich, the famous. God help, have mercy on their souls, because I'm done. I'm moving on to current events. These California fires are really serious. A lot of people have died. Whole neighborhoods have been wiped out. I think God is allowing. It's not God's fault, but He's allowing these things to happen. Everybody around the world is getting a good taste of what it's like to be homeless. If it's not by a hurricane, it's by a flood. If it's not by a flood, it's by an earthquake. If it's not by an earthquake, it's by a fire. Okay? So something's going on here. God's trying to talk to us, and He's got to get loud. So it's going to get hot in the kitchen for all of us. And remember, the rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. This idea that just because you're a believer, you're going to be protected all the time. Plenty of believers are getting nailed in these things. So they're having to suck it up and enjoy the ramifications of God talking loud to us. Okay, just the same. Remember, it's not God's fault. Any negativity is not God's fault. But He allows negativity to try to get through to us. So that's what's going on, I believe. He's trying to speak to us all. I watched Gerald Flurry, this Key of David show on the CW here in Northern California. I only get Antenna TV, but I really like this guy a lot. But I noticed this last episode, it really looked deliberate. They were scrambling certain things he had to say. So if you could see the show that aired, let's see, a week ago from Sunday, would have been the show on the 15th. But if you can get that on the internet or something. But I think it was pretty powerful. But he's laying out what's happening here at the end of the age, what's going on in the geopolitical realm. And he just follows Bible prophecy. He really believes this stuff.